Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Catherine Vaccaro, a member of this congregation. With me today in service are Reverend Margalie Belizaire, our Director of Lifespan Religious Enrichment, Judith Stein-Farrall, the Johnson family, and Worship Associate Linnea Nelson. And of course, much gratitude to all the wonderful 1U teams whose efforts ensure that we are able to gather in worship this morning. You make it happen. We welcome all to join us as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to the community. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here. You are welcome here, regardless of your color, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. We welcome you. For more information about our congregation and announcements, go to orlandouu.org or email info@orlandouu.org. We have 3 special announcements today. Families, we are so happy to have you here. Today is an intergenerational service, so the children and youth will be staying with us throughout the service. This coming Wednesday, June 7th, there is a panel discussion about the new proposed Article 2 of our UUA bylaws. Reverend Margalie, our DLRE, Judith Stein-Farrall, Linnea Nelson, and Reverend Kirsten Holmblad-Allen will be presenting and discussing with those present in person and online. For more information, please reach out to Reverend Margalie or Judith. Now for a special announcement from the Leadership Council about the potluck all-congregational picnic on June 18th.
Good morning. I'm getting ready. So I'm Kathy Homblett, and I'm part of the Leadership Development Committee. You know, there are lots of things that I love about Unitarian Universalism, but the one that I'm thinking about this morning is the fact that we're encouraged to both and thinking. So, for example, my understanding of the world is enlarged when I think about the power of science and reason and the quality of the mystery of things that just happen with no explanation. I'm on a more pragmatic note this morning. Making its appearance after many years, the all-church picnic. What a wonderful way to nourish our community, both in body and in spirit. The Leadership Development Team is happy to let you know that Sunday, June 18th, we will be honoring church volunteers during the worship service, and that will be followed by that all-church picnic. Now, full disclosure, that's Father's Day, so some of you may have a prior commitment or need to leave sooner than you might have thought, but that's okay, all are welcome. This will be a potluck as we spread our tasks out among us. So we know there will be plenty of food for everyone who comes, even visitors who didn't know there was a picnic that day. But here's the both and part of this announcement. We will use that Sunday to honor volunteers who've worked so hard during the church year, and we need more volunteers to make this all go smoothly. So you don't need to RSVP to attend. We are good at whoever's here are the right people, the food that's here is just right, all will be welcome. But, and you will be reminded to bring your favorite picnic dish. We're not grilling out this time, saving that for another time. A folding chair, and your community spirit. And If you'd like to work as part of the hospitality team that day, that would be setting up, serving, cleaning up. There's a chance for you to volunteer to do that too. You could see me after the service, or Catherine, or Kathy Spoon, who is in the back there, and you'll be serving coffee today. We think this will be such fun, and we hope to see all of you there. Thanks.
All other announcements are on slides before or after the service and have links in the weekly update or on our website. The order of service can be accessed via a QR code up on the screen. Please note that a link to the weekly update is at the bottom of our order of service. Please click on it to view what's going on at 1U. Thanks again for being here in person and online today. If you're joining us online, be sure to have flowers nearby for the flower communion, if that's possible for you. If you're joining us in person and have not had a chance to place your flowers in one of the vases on top of our altar, please bring them up at this time. Let's get started.
Please join me in reading the following poem by Reverend Ali K.C. Bell, followed by our chalice lighting words. This beautiful flower on this beautiful tree has been given many names. Nothing that we call it can take away what it is. Beautiful, natural, blooming. And so are you, beloved siblings. They may call us many names, but nothing can change who we are. Naturally occurring, beautiful, blooming. I am because you are. You are because I am. I love you, and I need you to survive. And in the light of truth, in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And now please rise and body your spirit to sing our opening hymn, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Pride Month, everyone. It is wonderful to be here with you this morning for our flower communion service. We Unitarian Universalists do not have many rituals, which is why the ones that we partake in are especially meaningful to us. Today is the 100th anniversary of our flower communion ritual. So on June 4th, 1923, yes, so wanted to make sure I got the year right. June 4th, 1923 was when we started this communion service, and we are here 100 years later celebrating it. So some of you who are visiting us for the first time today, right, you and others, even though you may have been here before, you may not have known we were having this special service today, which means some of you may not have brought flowers, but rest assured, as you can see, we have lots of flowers for everyone, and everyone is welcome to participate in this. And we are so glad that you chose to be here with us this morning. I call us to worship with this prayer. And I will say the author is anonymous, only because I forgot to write their name down. Spirit of life, of love, that which is held in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. Our lives are like flowers, like the flowers of the story. We gather flowers for our own crowns. We collect beautiful moments, beautiful joy, delightful experiences, laughter and smiles. May we celebrate the beauty of the precious, beautiful flowers. But most flowers fall off their branches at the end of the season. It is inevitable that they die. So it is with our lives. There are many times that our flowers wilt and die. We create spacious space for the sorrows of our lives, the challenges, disappointment, sadness, and struggles. We make space to mourn and to cry and hope that the flowers will return again. And there are times that we wait for the flowers to return, the liminal space in between. May we have hope that they will return to their full beauty soon. For all seasons of our lives, we rely on the strength of community, our faith, and the confidence that we are all part of the cycle of life and that love endures. So come, beloved, let us celebrate our bond as we hold our flower communion this morning. And let's greet one another. So come on, let's greet one another. I think I'm gonna.
So we're presenting the story Norbert's Lasting Idea by Laurel Whitehouse. Norbert Chapek was born 153 years ago in June of 1870. He grew up in troubled times in Europe. During World War I, his safety was threatened because he spoke out against those who tried to restrict freedom of worship. So Norbert and his wife came to America. where Norbert discovered Unitarianism and became a Unitarian minister. Once the war ended, Reverend Norbert wanted to return to share his love of Unitarianism with the people of his country, which was now the newly created country of Czechoslovakia. He returned to the city of Prague in 1921 and started a brand new church, which grew steadily as more and more people came to listen to Reverend Norbert's sermons.
The war left many miseries and a hard life for the people of Prague. Families had been broken up, businesses had been ruined, and many of his congregants didn't have enough money to meet their needs. Unitarianism was new to Czechoslovakia, and the worship service was unlike ours today. There were no stories or music, and the sermons were very, very long. The church building was plain and cold in the bitter winters. Still, people came because they were eager to worship spirituality, connection, and hope as they tried to rebuild their lives.
Reverend Norbert knew that the people who came to hear his sermons were learning about Unitarianism and building a new faith together. But he also knew that the daily struggle continued to be 5 years after the war. He knew the weariness of the troubles and the sadness they carried, and how his people yearned for a sense of connection and possibility. This was the world that informed Reverend Norbert. Now, the next part of this story is how he came up with the idea.
He went for a walk along the river Vltava, which runs through Prague, and as he slowly crossed one of the many bridges over the river, he began to think about how to lift the spirits of his congregation. He wanted to help them have hope. Reverend Norbert saw a flower growing in the bare and scuffed earth near the edge of the river. The beauty and bravery of the little bloom lifted his spirits. He wanted to share that uplifted feeling with his congregation, but how? His church had no altar, flowers, or gardens around it.
Reverend Norbert thought and thought as he walked, but he just didn't have any ideas about how to share the feeling that that flower had given him. He came up to a small child from his congregation who smiled at him and held out a flower for him to take. Reverend Norbert smiled back and with a happy heart, and realized in that moment how to spread the warm feeling with his church members.
It was spring, and there were flowers growing everywhere in Prague, in the parks, along the river, even in the rubble still left from the war. Reverend Norbert spread the word to his congregation to bring flower to the worship service the next Sunday. Everyone did show up with a flower. There were stems of white daisy like chamomile, yellow, many-petaled leopard's bane, the bright pink rockets of cyclamen, plump yellow clusters of primrose, fuzzy pink spires of hems and chicks, deep blue gentians, pinky purple past flowers, and of course, many roses, which are the national flowers of Czechoslovakia.
So on June 4th, today, right, June 4th, 1923, the day after Norbert's 53rd birthday, that plain church was bursting with colorful clusters of flowers, each uniquely beautiful, short, tall, spiky, round, scented, and vibrant, and uniquely beautiful faces of all the congregants were also bursting with smiles of warmth and hope as they felt the powerful forces of growth and possibility in nature and in each other. Reverend Norbert Čapek called that feeling the hidden cry for harmony and the infinite that each person feels inside. At the end of the service that day, when they chose a flower to take home, those seeds of hope and harmony and fellowship went with them and began to grow in their hearts and spirits.
Good morning. I'm Joan Nelson, President of the Board of Trustees, for a very brief time coming up. We invite you now into the practice of generosity. It is one of our spiritual values which sustains the life and ministries of the church community. Let us be grateful for the opportunity to give, for it is a privilege to be able to do so. And let us be grateful for our needs, for they give us the opportunity to practice receiving. Today's full collection will go to our Share the Plate partner, iDignity. And this morning, we are pleased to have Ann Taylor from iDignity to come and tell us a little bit more about the work that they do.
Thank you so much. It is a privilege to be here with you all this morning. I am one of the founders of iDignity, and I also have the privilege of serving as the Director of Philanthropy. Your church has been partnering with iDignity since 2011, and over the years, you've given our mission over $11,000 by allowing us to be the recipient of this Share the Plate. That is definitely something to celebrate, so thank you. And we also have several 1U volunteers, or members that volunteer with iDignity, which is awesome. So your donation today will help transform lives like Dana's. Dana was a 34-year-old woman who had been living on the streets of Orlando for 17 years without an identification. And the only two things available to a person to do on the streets to make money were prostitution and drug dealing. So Dana found herself dealing drugs, for which she got arrested and went to prison. And she said, you know, Ann, that was the best thing that could have happened to me, because in prison, I got clean. But it came time for me to get released, and I was so frightened of the idea that I would be back on the streets without an identification, because I knew I'd go right back to drugging and dealing. And fortunately, an inmate told her about an organization called iDignity. He said, Dana, there's a bus that will take you right to iDignity, and those people will help you get your ID. And sure enough, that very day, because she was born in Florida, we worked with the health department and got her birth certificate. Dana was able to get verification of her Social Security, and she was able, with those two documents, to get her photo ID. And she stood looking at it, and she said, today I am a somebody. I came here as a nobody, but today I'm a somebody. And she just kept saying that over and over as tears streamed down her face. It's individuals like that that your money helps serve. iDignity estimates that each client costs iDignity about $400 per person. Now, granted, it costs the client nothing. We do this legal work and this navigation for the client at no cost to them. But each client costs iDignity about $400. So when you give to iDignity, it goes directly to helping clients like Dana. In fact, there are over 117,000 individuals just like Dana living in Orange County who do not have proof of their U.S. government-issued identification. That is an astonishing number. It's 25 million throughout the country. Now, these are U.S. citizens that iDignity helps serve and legal residents. So just remember that when you give, and I'm sure you will give generously, that we are helping individuals get back into our society. There's no way people like Dana, people without identification, can ever participate in our society. without that little piece of plastic. Did you know you can't even recycle cans in Orange County without an ID? If you stop to think about all the things you cannot do without an ID, you are just halted. So we open that door, we help people get that identification, and then they are back into society. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here today to introduce you to iDignity. If you'd like to learn more, just visit our website, which is idignity.org, and you can read more stories and hear more about what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you for all the work that you do. You can use the link in the newsletter or on the screen and to donate directly to iDignity. But let us know, let Amy know that you have done so we can keep track. So the offering has now been collected, I think, right? Okay. Let us joyfully receive what is offered here today in the spirit of gratitude and generosity and fellowship.
Nearly 100 years ago, the Unitarian minister Norbert Chopek offered his Czechoslovakian congregation a ritual to respond to their questions about how to be a community that welcomed rather than suppressed diversity. Czechoslovakia was a country formed in the aftermath of war, struggling just 5 years after the end of that war with questions of belonging and identity, trust and anxiety. Chopek's ritual took the traditional bread and wine communion that his community was too heretical for and too resistant to these usual symbols, and played with this ritual. He turned instead to the beauty of nature all around them and invited each of his congregants to find a flower and bring it to the church one Sunday. That each person would find the flower that was beautiful to them was a symbol of their affirmation that each of us has a piece of the truth, our unique sense of what beauty means. On their way into the church, his congregation was in turn invited, each of them, to place that flower in a vase, which symbolized their free choice to enter into community alongside all the other people that saw beauty in their own way, symbolized by their flowers placed there as well. A free church where people freely choose to walk together across their differences. Once everyone had gathered, they'd bring the vase forward. Then the minister, Chopak, he would bless it. And then he'd invite everyone to choose a flower to take home with them, but just not the one that they came with. Again, this free choice affirmed each person's choice to be blessed by another and to receive with an open heart their different understandings of beauty and to feel connected rather than divided by this difference. In this moment where so many forces seek to divide people, to play on our fears of differences and our anxieties of the other, here we remember that we freely choose to walk together and to be blessed by the differences between us and to see these differences as beauty.
This is the time we set aside for deep sharing of our hearts and for prayer and meditation. If you have a sorrow you need witnessed or help with, or a joy you wish to share, please contribute to our collective sharing of joys and sorrows that we share here during service on Sunday mornings. And you can do this by sending an email to us at Joys and Concerns during the week, or if you are attending in person, you can fill out a card at the welcome table outside. And today, instead of our candle lighting ritual, we will of course have our flower communion ritual, where we will invite you to come up. So, bring your joys, bring your sorrows, bring your sadness as we come together. Come as you are, all of you, your whole self, the chatter of little voices, all is welcome here as we gather together, creating sacred space. From our community, we do have a concern to report. Lorraine Sherlock went to the hospital. She was admitted to the hospital at Orlando Health, the Dr. Phillips Center Hospital, and she continues to be hospitalized and has been since we received the first information on Friday. So she's still there. She's getting dialysis. Her husband, Steve, says that she appreciates text and encouragement, but no visitors, please, at this time. So reach out as you can to Louise, in our members portal. You can find her number, you can send her text, but let's respect her wishes not to have visitors at this time. We can still send her healing energy. And from the larger community, love and compassion to the friends and family of those 250 people who died in the train derailment in India this weekend. May all those in male bodies come to internalize that those of us in female bodies are entitled to being and feeling safe in the world. I say this in response to the long line of killings and rape in India of women in India, where the male perpetrators go unpunished. Most recently, this past weekend, a 16-year-old girl was stabbed and bludgeoned to death in a busy public street. And this month, LGBT month especially, may our LGBTQ plus folks, our siblings in Uganda, be safe following the country's president's signing of a series of anti-LGBTQ laws that are being characterized as among the harshest in the world. Bring your sorrows, bring your joys as we come together. And for all the joys and sorrows that were held close to the heart, and for those that were shared, let us pray, let us celebrate, and let us send one another healing energy. I invite us now into meditative prayer. Center yourselves, plant your feet to the floor if that's possible for you, and if you wish, take a few deep breaths. And I invite you to look and listen at this video and take in the beauty of flowers.
Our reading today is from one of my favorite Unitarian Universalist poets, Richard S. Gilbert. For the flowers have the gift of language. Speak, flowers, speak. Why do you say nothing? The flowers have the gift of language. In the meadow, they speak of freedom, creating patterns wild and free that no gardener could match. In the forest, they nestle, snug carpets under the roof of leaf and branch, making a rug of softness. At end tip of branches, they cling briefly before bursting into fruit, sweet to taste. Flowers, can you not speak joy to our sadness and hope for our fear? Can you not say how it is with you that you color the darkest corner? The flowers have the gift of language. At the occasion of birth, they are the buds before bursting. At the ceremony of love, they unite two lovers in beauty. At the occasion of death, they remind us how lovely is life. Oh, would that you had a voice, silent messengers of hope. Would that you could tell us how you feel arrayed in such beauty. The flowers have the gift of language. In the dark depths of a death camp, they speak the light of life. In the face of cruelty, they speak of courage. In the experience of ugliness, they bespeak the persistence of beauty. Speak, messengers, speak, for we would hear your message. Speak, messengers, speak, for we need to hear what you have to say. For the flowers have the gift of language. They transport the human voice on winds of beauty. They lift the melody of song to our ears. They paint through the eye and hand of the artist. Their fragrance binds us to the sweet-smelling earth. May the blessing of the flowers be upon you. May their beauty beckon you each morning, and their loveliness lure you each day, and their tenderness caress you each night. May their delicate flowers make you gentle, and their eyes make you aware. May their stems make you sturdy, and their reaching make you care.
As we begin the ritual, I want to give a thank you to Linda. Where are you, Linda? Thank you so much, Linda, for helping with this. Linda made sure that we had flowers. She checked with me ahead of time. And so thank you so much for being a part of making this so wonderful. In the flower communion service, as you've heard, there is a special significance in placing flowers in the vases up here, signifying your own free will that you join with the others in this faith tradition. And the vases themselves that the flowers are placed in is a symbol of our united fellowship, even with our different beliefs. And by exchanging flowers, we show our willingness to walk together and search for truth, even so we have differences in how we view the world and how we do spirituality, how we present. And you take a flower, remember, not the one you brought, take a different flower with you, symbolizing our shared celebration and community. This communion of sharing is essential to a free people of a free religion, people who have chosen to journey together regardless of color, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. For those who are attending online, we ask you to have some flowers near you if that was possible. We invite you to gaze upon your flower or flowers and do so gently and reverently with a sense of how important it is to address our world and other persons with gentleness, justice, and love. Then touch your flowers, touch the petals, and as you do so, maybe you want to remember someone who is dear to you, or even place the name of that person in the chat. And for those of us attending in person, we will use these two aisles to come forward, and then you will exit with the outer aisles. And as people come out of the pews, let's make space for one another. We are in this together. As you approach our altar, our flower altar, do so quietly, reverently, of course, with the chatter of the children, of course, with a sense of how important it is for each of us to address our world and one another with gentleness, justice, and love. And remember, don't take the flower you brought today. Choose another one. And it is, if you could think of the flower that you're taking from that other person as a gift that someone else brought for you. It represents that person's unique humanity and therefore deserves your kindness touch. So once everyone has come up and taken a flower and returned to your seats, I will then offer into this space the same blessing that Reverend Dr. Chopak did during the flower communion. So let us begin our flower communion processional. I will now bless these flowers that you hold with the very prayer that Chopak used. As a note, this writing was from a different time period, so the language is somewhat gender binary in terms. So in that spirit of inclusivity, I've substituted certain words for parents, ancestors, siblings, or family. In the name of Providence, which implants in the seed of the future of the tree and in the hearts of all, the longing for people living in human love, in the name of the highest, in whom we move and who makes the parents and sibling what they are. In the name of sages and great religious leaders who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of peace and justice, let us renew our resolution sincerely to be real siblings, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges us one from the other. In this holy communion, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are God's family, that one spirit, the spirit of love, unites us, and may we endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life. Amen. Now, please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our closing hymn, "For Flowers That Bloom About Our Feet." The words are on the screen. Just before his death at the Dachau concentration camp, Dr. Chopak wrote this prayer reflecting on his own life and the state of his spirit. We will use it as our closing words today. May you find resonance with it. It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Oh, blow ye evil winds into my body's fire. My soul, you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times or fallen in the fight and everything would worthless seem, I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul. My life was worth living. He was pressed from all sides, but remained victorious in spirit, is welcome into the choir of heroes. He who overcame the fetters given wind to the mind is entering into the golden age of the victorious. Beloved, worship has ended, and now the service truly begins. And our call to action to you today is to be intentional about how you handle this flower once we go apart from one another. You know, we have been celebrating this ritual all over the world as Unitarian Universalists, and sometimes we don't know what happens to that flower afterwards. So I'm asking you, I'm inviting you today, whatever you do with it, whether you hang it up to dry and then you fold it very lovingly into a scrapbook, or whether you just toss it, be intentional about what you're doing with it, because this sacred ceremony that we have participated in, we talked about the different things that the flower symbolizes, so if you could take that with you as well. And just this little story before you leave. I was talking with Aubrey about what do we do? What can we ask of people when it comes to an action after the service? And the discussion that we talked about, Aubrey said, you know, I've taken part in this type of ritual for the longest time, and when I'm in it, it's so meaningful, and then I don't know what I do with the flower afterwards. And he said, you know, now thinking about it, I could have taken it and placed it on a very dear friend's grave. And it just really touched my heart when he said that. And so I'm offering that to you, to treat that flower as the sacred symbol that we have made it. So, maybe so.
Please say these words with me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.